Hi everyone, we're here for the fourth installment, which is Chapter 3 of Adoptive Personality, the Killer Trilogy, Book 1, Part 1, The Fire, Chapter 3. Again, if you're under 18, turn this off, do not watch it, do not listen to it. The book is rated R, and so it's not appropriate for anyone under the age of 18. Chapter 3. Miss Connor turned the engine over and backed out of the driveway. I found you some foster parents. Their names were Patty and Fred Inge. They live in an elegant three-bedroom house on Green Street. She spoke as she drove. If you feel like you need to talk to someone, you'll be able to talk to a grief counselor. She took her eyes off the road long enough to make sure I was listening to her. All you need to do is call me, and I'll get you scheduled with one. Here's my card in case you need anything. I'll be checking in on you from time to time, though. The Inges are new to being foster parents, so it'll be an adjustment for everyone. Miss Connor was rambling on for so long that when she finally stopped, we were pulling up at the curb. The house was yellow with brown shutters. The house seemed to be a pretty ordinary one-story. A man and woman were standing on the porch. When we got out of the car, Miss Connor walked me up the porch steps. I looked at Fred as he introduced himself. He was a tall, husky man with broad shoulders and large hands. His hair was dark, and his mustache and beard were scraggly. The shirt he was wearing fit tight across his midsection, and the button on his jeans looked about ready to explode from his bulging gut. I can't fathom what any woman could see in Mr. Inge. I sized up the woman and decided I liked her right away. The woman, Patty, told me to call her and Fred by their first names. Patty was a pretty woman and stood about 5'4". Her breasts were quite small and her waist was very thin. Her long, muscular legs weren't scarred or disfigured. Her legs were probably what attracted Fred to begin with. I was shocked at how white Patty's teeth were. She must have a great dentist. She was probably prom queen in high school. She would have pulled it off easily enough with her looks. Why does the prom queen's husband always get worse with age? It looks like you guys need to get to know each other, so I'm going to go, Miss Connor said before she left. As Patty, Fred, and I entered the front door, I looked down the long hallway. The living room was the first door to the right with a spacious area to it. It contained 2 recliners, a couch, and tables. The TV was expensive and big, with a built-in DVD player. The Inges looked as if they did quite well for themselves. Bearing to the left of the hallway was the kitchen with the dining room table and chairs. As we continued down the hall, Patty showed me their room. She informed me I wasn't allowed in it. As I passed the other side, there was a full-size bathtub with exquisite tiling. At the end of the hall, Patty showed me to my room. There was a queen-size bed, complete with a matching oak dresser and desk. The room seemed rather unisex. The bedspread was a puke green color and appeared itchy. The room seemed pretty bland, but at least it was spacious. When Patty left the room, I lifted my suitcase to the bed and unpacked it. I ran my hand over the bedspread and discovered I was right. It was itchy and thin. I missed the group home already. I opened the top drawer and placed my socks and underwear in the dresser. Then I opened the closet to see coat hangers on the rack, so I pulled out a few and hung my clothes. I placed my flats on the floor of the closet. I hung my jackets on hooks on the back of the door. I placed the empty suitcase on a top shelf when I finished unpacking. I pulled back the bedspread and found a top sheet beneath it. Exhausted, I climbed in between the top sheet and the fitted one. I was thankful that one was soft. The top sheet would keep the bedspread from making my skin itch. I figured I would take a quick nap before going back downstairs. I heard the familiar creak of my bedroom door opening. Every muscle in my body tightened. Why do I live the life I do? The darkness seemed to increase the sense of dread filling my entire body. The room became visible as light seeped through the opening door. The sparse furnishings made it appear larger than it was. There was a small desk with a hutch, and dolls that were old and worn sat on the shelves. The few dolls that were displayed were hand-me-downs given to me by neighbors over the years. Small bald spots in her blonde strings of cotton hair matted to the center doll's scalp. One eye was cracked and half her stitched mouth was gone. It left an eerie smirk on her broken face. It was my favorite doll. She was the only person I could tell my secrets to. The only other things in the room were a beat-up set of mini-blinds over a curtainless window and the bed. But no security existed in this room, this bed, or this life. The bed consisted of a very old plain wooden frame with a wilting mattress. Scarred wood showed years of use. In the bed I lay, a heavy-set 15-year-old girl. The hall light seemed to shadow me while I feigned sleep. I could see the hulking man as he approached the bed. He left the door ajar, allowing a ray of light from the hallway to enter. I peered through half-closed eyes. He looked like one of those wise guys you see on TV being hired to break into someone's house to steal something. I could make out his hairy chest, a noticeable beer gut, and short, stubby legs. His hair was cut close to his head. It appeared thin and greasy. I lay there in a light pink knee-length cotton gown with lace trimmings. It was also a hand-me-down. My brown hair caught some of the light from the doorway, making it shine with flecks of gold. With desperation, I tried to feign sleep, hoping for once he would leave me alone. He crept towards the bed, silent as possible. I squeezed my eyes shut tight. I was trying to imagine it as a bad dream. He sat down on the edge of the bed, rolling my body towards his frame. He smelled of beer and stale cigarettes. His nasty body funk followed him throughout any room. His 5 o'clock shadow smiled as a small metal clicking sound filled the stillness. My mind lurched as previous memories played behind my clenched eyelids. My skin shuddered as I heard the last clicks and the momentary silence that always followed. That sound haunted me while I slept. He pulled out his manhood and stroked it slow as he gazed down at me. I lay there pretending to be asleep. My eyelids twitched with nervousness as I felt my father's eyes staring down at me. It felt like he was staring right through me, and a nauseous feeling rose in the pit of my stomach. My eyelids fluttered a little, allowing me to see what he was doing. I saw the shadow of his hand as he raised it over me. I didn't know what to do. I better open my eyes and answer him. If I didn't, he would be upset. I saw what happened when he got that way, and I didn't wish to relive it again. I held back my twitching muscles as my body quaked with fear. Daddy wants his pretty little girl to be really good and do as he asks. Daddy wants a little romp before he goes to bed. He ran his hand up and down my arm. I heard the words so many times before and my stomach lurched. I love you more than anyone. Daddy's pretty little girl won't disappoint him, will she? He raised my nightgown. It happened all the time, but each time shocked my fragile mind like the first visit when I was 11. Please, Daddy, can I have a break tonight? I'm still hurting from last night, I said with a little rattle in my already shaky voice. It was the last time my father visited me. It was the final straw that caught fire. Nausea rose into my throat when the nightmare lingered. I swung my legs off the side of the bed and left the room in search of the bathroom. I turned on the cold water and splashed my face until I could feel the coldness seeping into my skin. I used the toilet and then went in search of Patty. Patty was sitting at the kitchen table drinking a cup of coffee and reading a novel by Sandra Brown. When she saw me looking at the book, she said, "If you're interested, I have several of her books and many others in the living room. You can have a look." She took a sip of her coffee before she spoke again. A Detective Crawford called and said when you felt up to it, he wants you to come down to the station for some questions and a final statement. I'll give him a call if he left a number. I just don't feel up to too much today. I'll see if we can go see him tomorrow. I found a glass in the cupboard and got some sweet tea. When I fixed myself a large full glass, I went back to my bedroom to work out. I placed the glass on the desk and rolled my shoulders. A lot of nervous energy was running through my body. I sat down on the floor and performed crunches. I didn't stop until my muscles were on fire. The burn felt good in the pit of my stomach, so I rolled over and attempted some push-ups. My arms were not very strong, but I was determined to get myself in shape. I didn't want to be the sad, abused, lonely, fat girl anymore. A new life calls for a new look. I don't have to look unappealing anymore in an attempt to discourage Father. I am a woman now, and I need to do what is necessary for what I want. I'm going to completely change myself for the better. In the morning, Patty drove us to the police station. The building looked like any other police station from the outside. We found a parking spot among the cop cars. Patty led us to a set of stairs. The station must be located on the lower level. When we pushed through the doors, it looked like any station ever portrayed on TV. Desks were everywhere. We walked up to one long desk centered in the front of the main room. The desk sergeant was a plump, balding man with a kind smile. "Eve Matthews is here to see Detective Crawford. He should be expecting her," Patty said while I toggled from one foot to the other. "Hold on a second," said the sergeant, picking up the phone receiver. "Hey, this is Antonio. I have an Eve Matthews here to see Detective Crawford." "Okay, will do." He directed us to wait on the benches to our left. Looking around provided no insight into what awaited me. I hated expectation. What are they going to ask me? How long am I going to be stuck here? A man walked up, interrupting my thoughts. The man was gorgeous. His skin was tan and muscular, his cheekbones were angular and rough, and his face seemed like it could display an impressive amount of emotions. What is happening to me? I'm not attracted to men. I hate the opposite sex, but he captivates me. Eve Matthews, I'm Detective Crawford. Please follow me. Patty waited behind while Detective Crawford led me past a row of desks to some closed rooms. He opened one of the doors, showed me in, then closed the door behind us. He motioned to one of the metal chairs. I sat down and he sat across from me. This beautiful man seemed like he was about 30. I diverted my eyes so he wouldn't catch me staring. I have to get a handle on this. I need to concentrate on what is going on. I have been assigned to investigate the fire at your parents' house. The fire investigator is working on the report. We'll see if anything else needs to come from all this. I did want to say how sorry I am about your parents. I concentrated on what he was saying. If I didn't give him my full cooperation, he may wonder what else I'm thinking about. Since your parents didn't have any life insurance, the city has agreed to bury their bodies once the autopsy's been completed. Why would an autopsy be completed on my parents? They died in the fire. I saw them catch fire. I let one tear slide down my cheek with a sob and turned my eyes towards the floor. What would be there to look for? I hope I appear grief-stricken enough. This is mandatory. We have regulations to follow in cases like this. Do you believe anyone would have set the fire deliberately? Did your mother or father have anyone who would have wanted to hurt them? My father was the type to state his opinion whether or not he was asked for it, so he wasn't the most popular guy, but I can't think of anyone in particular. I didn't see anyone in the house when I woke up. There were smoke and flames everywhere. I tried to get to them, but I couldn't. The 911 lady told me to get out, so I tried to get to the back door. That's all I remember, I said, turning on the waterworks. You've been through so much lately. I would like you to go home and think about all of this. If you think of anything, I want you to call me. Hopefully the medical examiner's report and the fire investigation report should be in tomorrow. I'll call you when I get them. He pulled a card from his pocket and handed it to me. But if you think of anything before then, please give me a call. Regardless, I'll be in touch. He got up and opened the door. Let's get you out of here, he said, motioning his hand to the door. I got up and followed as he led the way back to the front desk. Patty and I walked back to the car in silence. Once we were on the road, Patty spoke in a low, sympathetic tone. If you need to talk, I'll be here. All you have to do is come to me. I'm willing to listen to anything you want to talk about. I'm sure you did enough talking back there, so right now I'll change the subject. Her tone became more upbeat. You'll be receiving $50 a week in allowance. You can spend that money on anything you want. Fred and I will expect you to rinse the dishes and load the dishwasher every night and take out the trash once a week. If the lawn needs mowing, you'll be expected to do that also. She finished talking as we pulled into the driveway. That night, I dreamed of Detective Crawford. His naked body was sprawled beside me in the bed. His hand held me behind my ear as he gave me a gentle kiss. His other hand moved back and forth over my hip in a tender caress. He shifted to lie beside me. The way he moved brought me supreme pleasure. Just as the dream got good, I woke up to shouts coming from down the hall. Fred was yelling at Patty for giving me an allowance. He didn't feel like I needed money. I couldn't hear Patty. I assumed she was speaking in her soft tone like she normally did. As Fred continued to scream, I covered my head with the pillow. I listened to screaming my whole life. I thought I was done with all that. Why does Patty put up with a man who doesn't respect her? Patty seems so nice. Couldn't she have found a better man to waste her time on? Why do they even become foster parents? Fred didn't sound like he wanted the responsibility of caring for me. All right, Miss Connor said they were first-time foster parents. I bet it's for the paycheck. I lost all hope of falling back to sleep. I lay in the bed staring at the ceiling until Fred stopped screaming at last. I assumed they'd gone to bed since I didn't hear anything for a while. Since I couldn't go back to sleep, I decided to get up and exercise. During my workout, I fantasized about Detective Crawford. I imagined him holding my feet and keeping count of my stomach crunches. Your body's going to look so good when those muscles are tight and flat. I'm going to lick you from head to toe, he said. I can't wait until you slim down so I can see you in slinky outfits. Do you know how many men will be drooling over you? I might have to kick some ass in order to keep my girl to myself. I imagined a look of pure lust in his eyes. When I finished working out, I went down the hall to take a shower. When I finished bathing and brushing my teeth, I went back to bed. Because of all the exercise and the relaxing shower, I didn't have a problem falling back to sleep this time. Please, God, let me finish my dream about Detective Crawford, but it didn't. The nightmares never stayed away long. I felt the pain of the red-hot sting as he backhanded me. The pain was electric and radiated out, vibrating my cheekbone. I could feel it inside my brain, rattling around. His hand seemed as big as my small cheek and the side of my head. My ear was ringing. I snapped back to reality when I heard the fierce shouts of my father. "You disappoint me very much, Eve. You know I don't like it one bit when you disappoint me." He shook his finger in my face. "The Eve you are named after is that temptress from the Bible. You tempt me, Eve, and I will be satisfied. Now you show me what I want, or I'm really going to hurt you." He pawed at my nightgown. "Are you asking me to hurt you? You know it would be my pleasure. In fact, you know I like to hurt you. It makes it sexier. Maybe I want you to fight me, Eve." My movements were sluggish as I raised my gown over my head. The tears streamed down my plump cheeks. My hands were shaking so bad that my fingers almost went limp with fear. I couldn't get my hands to do what he wanted. My gown got stuck when I tried to pull it over my head. He slapped me again. I was more concerned with his anger and taking too long to realize I left on my underwear. His violence was compounded as my body jerked upwards inches off the mattress when he tore them from me. The lining of the fabric stuck my skin as the material ripped. My body would most likely show welts or bruises later. It seemed the tears only provoked him and made him want me more. How can sadness and fear provoke someone into more violence and sexual depravity? My father was a big man, and he towered over me as he climbed on top. His body carried a sour smell. I turned my face to the left, trying to detach myself from what was happening. I found a dark place inside my head where I could hide. He would have noticed the blank, detached look in my eyes if he paid any attention. He may have been my first and main sexual partner, but I heard other girls talking about men they were turned on by, about men that were turned on by a woman's pleasure. How could he be attracted to raping a corpse? That's what I felt like while it was going on, dead. My attention was called back by light entering the room when my mother came to check on me. My father screamed, "Shut the freaking door! Go wait for me in the room! You're next, bitch!" I could not believe my eyes when my mother turned around and walked out like she was blind. How could my mother stomach seeing her husband stretched out on top of the only child they created together? What kind of woman accepted that? I couldn't help myself. Tears were coming full force now. My father ate it up. He picked up his pace with the biggest smile on his face. He actually looked as if he was having fun. I didn't think he was ever going to finish, and silently begged the monster to hurry up. I couldn't stop the tears, and they seemed to entice the monster as he attacked me with a renewed vigor. I felt violated with every ounce of my being. How could this disgusting creature do this to his own daughter? When my father finally finished, I pulled the covers over my sweat-soaked and semen-covered body. I held the covers between white-knuckled fists. Before he left the room, he caressed the side of my face. "Daddy loves his pretty little girl, his favorite girl," he said in a sympathetic tone. He smiled down at me. "Eve, you're the best Daddy's ever had." How could any father want to fuck his own child? My mind wouldn't allow me to use better vocabulary because what he was doing couldn't be described any different. Did he have some sort of chemical imbalance that stirred him up into the demon he was? I dismissed the thought right away because it was too good an excuse for what he did to me throughout my unloved life. The one thing that didn't register with me was my so-called mother. How could any mother let the father destroy their child in such a disgusting manner? My mother saw him stretched out on top of their daughter with her own eyes, and yet she turned around and shut the door. I questioned how long my mother knew what he was doing to my mortal shell. Did my mother know about the atrocities the whole time? Could she have known all along? I couldn't figure out what made my parents so vile. The people at school never spoke of anything close to what was happening in my life. It was so humiliating and unclean that I couldn't even utter the words about the abuse to another living soul. Only heaven and hell would ever know my silent destruction. I didn't make any friends at school because I figured they would start asking questions. I became a hermit to the outside world. I doubt I could make any friends even if my heart desired it. The kids at school are satisfied and act like their lives are fairy tales. How can I compete with that? There is no perfection in my life, nor is it a fantasy. It's as if I'm living in Dante's Inferno. I awoke soaked in sweat, my entire body trembling. I ran to the bathroom. I barely made it to the toilet when I leaned my face over the seat and my stomach emptied. When I couldn't vomit anymore, I stood up and looked at my distorted reflection. "You're the best Daddy's ever had," I mimicked. My face streaked and stained with tears of anguish. I tried to quiet my shaking body. 2 days later, Detective Crawford called and asked me to come back down to the station again. Patty got her things together and we headed out. This time, Detective Crawford was waiting for us in the lobby. He took me into the same room where we'd been the day before. "Both reports have come back. The fire started because of a frayed cord from one of the lamps in the living room. I'm sorry, but the house is a total loss. The fire was ruled accidental." He took a breath before his next statement. "The medical examiner ruled your parents' death caused by fire. Your father did have a very high alcohol level found in his blood. I don't think either of them suffered. I knew he was trying to make me feel better. I knew it was a lie. I watched my parents suffer and enjoyed it. I was pleased the detective would never know the truth. Your parents' bodies will be released tomorrow, and the funeral will be held the day after that." That's the end of Chapter 3. If you'd like to find out what happens in the rest of Adoptive Personality, you're just going to have to buy a book. So contact me by looking down and getting my email.